Craig.
Greg.
Craig.
All right. And Jane Jones, a good friend. All right. All righty. It's a little bit after 5 p.m. Pacific time, and that could only mean one thing. It's time for another episode of The Yard. We have a nice intimate group here tonight on The Yard on Zoom, but we're also broadcasting on Facebook Live, on Twitter, on YouTube, and ultimately lots of people will be able to watch a copy of this on YouTube as well down the road. What we're very excited, our team, is that soon our platform, and including The Yard, will be available to be seen on hundreds of thousands of tablets that are inside 426 jails and prisons across the United States. So approximately 1 million of our brothers and sisters who are doing time are going to have the opportunity to check out The Yard. The Yard, of course, is a production of Commissary Club. Commissary Club is the first social network for 70 million Americans that have a criminal record. And if you haven't already, please download the app. It's available for your iOS as well as Android phones. If you go to the app stores, you can download it for free. I think the app is really swell. Our friend Seth, who I'll be introducing momentarily, has been very, very involved with building that out, and I think he's done a great job. So if you like it, if you dig it, please give it a good rating, say something nice about it, and tell other people who might have an interest about it. We would appreciate that for sure. My name is Richard Bronson. I am the founder and CEO of Commissary Club, as well as 70 Million Jobs, which is the national employment platform for folks with records. And tonight, as typically we are, I am joined by two of my teammates and dear friends at Commissary Club. We have number one, former NBA great, Lakers superstar,
So crazy.
center, the
Getting
great
so out of
Seth
hand.
Lundberg.
Hey,
Good
everybody. Thanks, Richard. We gotta tone it down. I'm gonna get sued by the NBA.
I'm going to make, even if your career didn't go that far, I'm going to make you go far in memory.
My 2 minutes in the light are went to legendary status.
You're going to make that foul shot. Seth is joined by our other good friend, the very famous Divine, who is rapper to the stars and entrepreneur to the stars as well. A man who does it all. Good evening, D. How are you?
Good evening, Richard. Great to be back on The Yard once again.
It's great. D had a tough day today, he told us. He had problems with his phone. He had problems with flooding in his home. He was traveling. He lost his bags. He had some health issues. This was a tough day for him.
Mercury in retrograde.
Yeah.
Right. But tonight we're going to erase all of those sins and you'll have a guess. I have no doubt. We're joined as usual, as always, by the fabulous Adrienne Hatter, who's also on our team. And she is the brains of the operation. She sort of runs things behind the scenes. So we're very thankful to have her involved here. We're going to get started in a second, and I'll introduce our guests. But just a couple of housewarming items. not housewarming. That's like something you give as a gift. Housekeeping items.
How you doing on the yard? Housewarming on the yard.
Although, if anyone would like to give us
Ramen noodles.
housewarming gifts,
Exactly.
that's never in bed.
Douglas.
Last week we weren't on the yard. We were not on the yard because Divine was sick. And it wasn't COVID, thank God, although that was a concern. But he was not at all feeling well. And frankly, the idea of just me and Seth being on alone, I just wouldn't wish that on anybody. So we decided to take a pass last week. A number of people reached out to see if we were okay, if there were any issues or problems. Thank you for your concern. Everything is cool. And we're back. And most importantly, Divine is feeling much, much better. I want to just tell you, excuse me, we have so much that's going on right now at our company's Commissary Club and 70 million jobs. 70 million jobs, you know, that's a basic, our business is to help folks with records get jobs. When we were getting lots of people jobs before the coronavirus hit, thousands, you know, probably more than anybody has ever done. But when the coronavirus hit, it not only were all of our people terminated, but our business went to zero effectively. And, you know, during that time, rather than call it quits, we said, you know, something, our people have been asking for two things. They've been asking for jobs and they've been asking for community. So we said, let's tackle community. And we built out Commissary Club as a social app to connect people with records. I am happy to report that our employment business over the last 3 or 4 weeks has exploded. I'm sure everybody here has read about companies, big and small, that are finding it, you know, exceedingly challenging for them to find people to fill their positions. What they're doing now is they're coming to us because we have so many people in our community who desperately need a job. And we're connecting people who desperately need jobs with companies that desperately need people. Many of these companies don't yet know how good this population does as employees, you know, because they don't have many options. When they get a job, they really work hard and they really go out of their way to make sure they don't mess it up. And they don't jump around like a lot of people do. So this has been, I mean, an incredibly challenging time because we have so many big companies coming to us. And we're just, you know, Adrian and Seth and the rest of our team are just going nuts trying to facilitate it all. At the same time, we've just launched our app, Commissary Club. And Commissary Club's got all kinds of very, very cool things that are going on. We will be officially launching it at the end of the month, and we're launching it along with our partner, Meek Mill, and Dream Chasers, his record label. And what we will be doing is we're going to be announcing, so you can all hear it first, we're going to be announcing a competition that will go on inside of prisons on these tablets that I mentioned, as well as outside of prison for folks who have been released, whereby they can submit lyrics for hip hop songs. And Meek Mill is going to choose some of these and incorporate it in upcoming songs for his album.
I got like 4 options already written out. Like, I'm ready. I know everybody's excited about it, so that's why I'm just letting everybody know, like, be prepared, I'm coming.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Seth is quite the hip hop lyricist, so I'm sure we'll be watching him at the Grammy Awards. But on top of that, this was pretty wild today. We received a call from the president of Rock Nation. And they told us that they want in on the action. They want to sign artists that are in prison. They want to sign artists who are in prison, who are talented, you know, hip hop artists. and we're working out how we're going to be able to do it, because they can't take videos, and there are challenges, obviously, in dealing in prison. But, we think this is an amazing opportunity. We think it's a lot of fun, and we know that we'll get a lot of attention and lots of people will download the app, et cetera, et cetera. Much more that you'll be hearing about, but, all kinds of cool things that are going on. Last week, well, 2 weeks ago, we had one visitor to the yard. And there are certain people that come to the yard week after week that we know, that are friends, that we love. And then there are people who we don't know who they are. We love them for visiting. In this case, somebody after the yard sent me a message on LinkedIn telling me that he was interested in funding entrepreneurs with records who had business ideas and who needed some money to get their business off the ground, which is pretty amazing. And, the one thing about this population is there are a lot of really great entrepreneurs within it. It takes a lot of skill and a lot of ability and entrepreneurial chops, even if you have a business on the street selling drugs. You're dealing with competition, you're dealing with regulatory issues, you're dealing with supply, you're dealing with personnel, all of these things. That's what an entrepreneur has to deal with, and if it's a legal business or an illegal business, it's the same challenges. So, there are just plenty of really great, talented people. And this gentleman told me that he was interested in funding that. And he also was interested in investing in our company. And his name is Daryl Finkton. And as I later learned, and I learned it because almost a few days later, there was an article that appeared in the prominent tech publication, TechCrunch, about him and about his $1 billion social impact fund. Daryl has raised a huge amount of money, and he is, keen on directing it to where, racial inequality and economic inequality can be addressed head on. He's also very, very much an active advocate in universal basic income. So he came back and he said, "I'd like to invest in your company." And we talked, and I told him at the time, I am in the midst of raising money for the company. And he told me that he wanted to invest $1 million with us. So that has been a real amazing event. And it came out of us doing the yard. So as much as we all love doing it, we love it that much more. All right, so back to the yard. I just needed to share some of those details. I hope they weren't too laborious. On the yard, our goal, like Commissary Club, our goal is to connect people. Ultimately, we want people to be able to help one another, to serve as role models, to even inspire. And ultimately, we want people to understand that folks with records are not monsters. They are human beings, not much different than anybody else. They made a mistake. They got caught up in something. Their situation, was challenging, and they did what they felt like they had to do. So we want to sort of give you an insight into what prison is like. And prison is different for different people, and it certainly depends on which prison you're going to and what level of security, and if it's state or if it's federal, and which state it may be. It's all different, but it's very little like what you see on TV or in the movies, and that's the point. What we try to do is simulate essentially an experience of going out, regardless of what prison you're in. You're going to be going out to the yard, a big open field, basically, where the inmates can hang out, throw a football, work out, run, jog, take a walk alone, and connect with their friends. And most people will spend that time connecting with their friends in prison. and they're going to laugh and they're going to yell at each other and they're going to argue. And, sometimes they're going to share some bad news. We will avoid crying. We don't want to be seen that way because crying exposes weakness, and weakness is a dangerous thing to expose in prison. But in any event, we try to keep the conversation on topic as it relates to people's experience in prison. Obviously it matters how they got there and what they're doing now, but our focus and the yard is what it's like there in prison. So please, if you have questions or comments, if you can kind of focus on the in prison kind of thing. And by all means, please do share your comments and questions using the chat feature. And further, if you want to join the conversation and you feel like, you have something to add, we'd love to have you join us, on the yard. In that case, please message Adrian and she will make the arrangements to get you up here. Every episode of the yard, we've done the same thing. I try to sort of have everybody go through the experience of how tenuous our freedom is and how easy it is for any of us to get into trouble. So I'm going to ask you, if you haven't done this before, just go along with me here. If everybody could please just close your eyes. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, let it out slowly, just let your mind go. I try to create or describe scenarios that we sort of all can relate to. And some people will be able to relate to what I'm going to say and others perhaps not. But we all have imaginations. So please imagine, if you will, you're back in your late teens, your early 20s. If you were a middle class, upper class family, this is a time that you were planning to go to college. You're thinking about your future. You were going to be a doctor or a lawyer. You're going to go into tech. Anything was possible at that time in your life. However, if your family was poor, you probably didn't know many people who had followed those dreams. As a matter of fact, if you're poor, on a certain level, every day is a game of survival. Perhaps in your family, you were raised by your mom and, despite the fact that she's working a couple of jobs, it's still a struggle for her to pay the rent and put food on the table for you and your siblings. You love your family, of course, and you feel an obligation to help. That's a natural thing. You want to bring in some money. So, you start thinking, well, what can I do? In your neighborhood, there's probably not going to be a lot of jobs available. And the ones that exist, working at McDonald's, maybe, pay almost next to nothing. If you live in Texas, the minimum wage there is $7.35, I believe. So if McDonald's hires you for 20 hours a week and you make $140 a week pre-tax, it's not a lot of money that you're taking home to your family. So, that there are guys out on the street, neighborhood kids you went to school with, and now they're out on the street and they're slinging drugs. And you hear they've been making a lot of money, and, you're a good kid. You've stayed out of trouble, but let's face facts. The landlord right now is threatening to evict your family, and your mom is just overcome with the pressure. So the situation's pretty dire. So you do what you got to do, and you go out to the guys on the streets and you reconnect, and you get a job essentially, slinging drugs with these other people. And things are going okay, except one night, all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, a flood of police cars come rushing in. and they're on top of your crew, and the lights are flashing, the sirens are wailing, and in an instant, you're thrown up against a police car hood, your pockets are emptied, and now you're in handcuffs. And all of a sudden, you're being brought to the police station, and you're thrown into a cell with like 30 or 40 other guys who were just arrested. You're introduced to a public defender because, of course, you couldn't afford your own lawyer. And the public defender tells you the best that you can do is arrange a plea deal. You'll serve just 5 years with time off for good behavior. And you don't know what to do. And, of course, you accept the plea. And as you're doing it in court, you hear your mom sobbing behind you. And you are, before you know it, you find yourself in prison. And you got 5 years to go. Now, prison is terrible. The food is terrible. The guards are terrible. The medical attention is terrible. But every day they let you out onto the yard where you can get some fresh air and you can be with your friends. So what I'd like to do right now is get you out onto the yard and bring you out to meet a friend of mine. His name is Antoine Patton. He also goes by Antoine Digital. Antoine, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you. How are you, sir?
Feeling great. Yourself? Thank you. Appreciate that intro too.
Thank you. And joining Antoine, who will inevitably be, I just know, the star of the evening, is Antoine's daughter, JJ. Hey, JJ, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us. I believe these folks are in Buffalo right now, joining us from there. So number one, I just want everybody to know that I had a conversation with Antoine and JJ before we went on, and I wanted to make sure, is there anything that's off limits? We want to be respectful and protective of JJ. And they assured me, that pretty much anything goes, that Antoine has been very, very transparent and with his background, and that AJ, how old are you now, AJ? JJ? AJ.
I'm 16. I just turned 16.
Okay. So let me first ask you this. This is off our normal topic. How old were you when your dad was in prison?
3.
3. And your dad was in prison for a total of 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Right, Antoine?
7. Good time. Get home a little
7,
early.
yeah, enough. Like many in his position, while he was in prison, he discovered he had an interest in technology, and he actually taught himself and learned how to code. Since he's been out of prison, he began a boot camp that's called Unlock Academy, where he teaches aspiring Black technologists how to code. And this is amazing. I read in just 2 years, Unlock has taught more than 4,000 people how to pursue that dream and learn to code. And along with help from JJ, they launched the Photo Patch Foundation, which is an app that JJ actually built. And this app helps kids send pictures and communicate with their parents in prison. And I read, and this is going back a ways, so the number is probably a lot higher, but at the point that I read this, more than 600,000 pictures had been already sent from kids at home to their loved ones, parents in prison. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, that number's a little dated. We're about 800,000 now, but
800. And
yeah.
JJ, you did this?
Yes. I wrote the app when I was 12.
Wow.
Wow is not even. Do you realize how stupid that makes me feel, for example? I know you didn't try to do that, but that's the way I feel. Wow. Do you recognize that that's pretty special?
Yes.
You do recognize it.
Self-awareness. Okay. That's right. Self-awareness.
You have self-awareness. You learned this from your dad, how to do this?
Yeah, so when I was 10, my dad taught me how to code because I was just curious about it and I seen him doing it and I wanted to learn. So he took me under his wing and taught me, and then I just took it from there.
Wow, I'll say. So let me ask you a question, and this is sort of very jumping ahead. What is your big down the road picture? What's your dream? You're going to build something great, right? What's that going to be? Or have you done it already?
Right. I haven't done it already. I haven't. I think there's a lot of things in the world that just need something with help and that can, make an impact like the Photo Patch app did. And it'll take a lot of work and a lot of dedication and just studying. So that's just still something that I'm like on the road to figure out.
Wow. Well, you certainly got time, but I don't think you're going to waste much time finding
No.
out what it is. Probably you're already scheming some ideas, right? All right. So
I got a question.
Antoine.
Hold on, Richard. JJ, let me ask you a question. It's so great to have you here. First of all, like this is the first episode that we've done that's kind of like a visitation episode. I got like 1,000 questions for you guys, and like all these things, right? But it's great to we're just so excited about this episode having you here. So there's a lot of stuff I want to ask kind of about the experience of you and your dad being in prison, right? And the situation there. Obviously, he like you knew he was coding in prison, right? Because you were 3 when he went away, right? And I want to talk to you about that. And like when did you start to go like, oh, Dad's doing this thing inside, like that? He's trying to get me to do, or was it something you were just like, I really want to do this thing that you're doing too, or like what was your primary interest? What we call it on the yard a spark for people that have been down. There's kind of this spark that happens, and I'm curious to know like what your spark was.
I think my spark was just I always wanted a relationship with my dad. So even while he was away, I didn't want to hold any grudges. I just wanted to have a dad.
Yeah.
So when I was able to bond with him and found something that he loved a lot, like he was doing this all the time and he was taking it serious. So I was like, if he loves this can be something that we can bond over.
Wow.
So it was,
Post prison, right? This is post prison.
Oh, post prison? Yeah, but well, I didn't know that he was coded in prison.
Oh, you did?
Towards like the end, like probably like before he came home or before like I moved to come live like when we came to move to live with him.
Yeah.
So that was like when I was more aware of what he was doing and everything.
Gotcha.
So I didn't really know like what it all the way was and what he was really doing. But it sounded like
to do
some
something
cool
with your
stuff.
dad. The opportunity to bond and hang out with your dad was
yes.
Yeah. So all right, so let's just go back a little bit, Antoine, if you don't mind. We have no idea what you were in prison for. You ended up. Do you mind sharing that? Do you mind talking about it?
Yeah. So it's a gun charge. I'm from New York State, and New York State is really tough on guns, right? And now we live in Florida, which is the total opposite.
Total opposite.
So, yeah. So what I went to jail for in New York State would have been a whole different scenario in Florida. But yeah, so criminal possession of a weapon was my charge. So just having an illegal firearm, I was like 20. I was 20 years old.
Okay.
When I went to prison, so still.
Okay, and you were sent to a New York State prison, I guess.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Put a state charge.
So tell me real quick, just about the crime, real quick. Sorry, Richard, I didn't mean to.
Go ahead.
You talk about, and this is something more for people that are not fully aware of this, but like that is a serious thing, right? Like to have a criminal history and and then be holding a weapon. Which is we don't have to get into the details of that, but is it amended right? And my understanding in the federal system is it's 5 years for the gun and a year for every bullet. Yeah. Is that how it is in the New York State system too?
No, they didn't. Not that I know of, but that wasn't ours. The gun laws has just changed, so it changed to at that point. It used to can get like 1 year or 3 years for a gun, and then it changed to 3.5 years to 15 years for a gun. So that was like the new law that they were trying to really get even more strict with guns. So,
Gotcha.
So you were arrested, you were convicted, and you were sent to prison. Tell me, because we ask this for everybody, you know, that first step that you made from where you were outside of the prison into the prison, what was going through your mind? What was the feeling you had?
I was devastated. I didn't eat like the whole day on purpose. I couldn't eat. Like I was just like shocked. I was numb. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I knew that I was letting a lot of people down. So from the very, very beginning, it was strictly about everyone around me, my family, my friends. I've always been the person who's there for my family. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I've always been a person who's been like there for my family heavy. So just like being a person like the leader and the kind of breadwinner having to leave, it was tough. It was a lot of weight on me, on my heart to be like, okay, I let people down.
Do you have other kids besides JJ?
At that time, no. Now I do.
Okay.
Now I do. I do have 2 other kids, but at that point, it was JJ was my first, and I was still, you know, a young father trying to figure it out. So that was also hurtful. Like, well, I was trying to be in her life, and I still messed up and dropped the ball.
Okay. So JJ, were you aware what was happening? You were 3, so maybe you weren't aware of a lot of things, but were you
No.
aware that dad was going away?
Yeah, so I was little, so I didn't really understand like what was going on. But eventually, like as I got older, my mom like let me know what was happening. Like my mom was the same way. She liked to be transparent with me and like really tell me what was going on. So when I got old enough to like really realize, she did like let me know what was
How
happening.
old were you when that happened?
I was probably like 5 or 6.
Do you remember your reaction when you were told about this?
No, I don't. It was like so long ago, so I don't really remember like the exact moment or like the exact reaction I felt.
I have a,
I
Okay.
probably didn't even still really know, so I probably was like, "Okay, mom, I'm gonna go play with my toys."
But do you I guess you missed dad.
Yeah, but as I got
Absolutely.
older and like start being more aware that like he's actually gone, like I actually can't see him every day,
Right.
then I was like, "Oh, like okay, this is for real."
I mean, did you ever forget who, did you always retain a memory, or did you ever even forget like who he was or what he looked like?
Yeah, yes. It's like hard to say and like sad to say, but it's like because he wasn't like there every day in a memory in my mind every day, there was times where it's just like that wasn't like always on top of my mind, or I always like didn't remember his face or what he looked like. But if I got a picture or I went to visit him, it always like came back. And then from there, it just was kind of like once like after the first visit, it was like I didn't want to forget him
Hmm.
anymore. But before that, it was hard to like keep the memory there.
And when did you get to visit inside first? Remember?
When I was like 6,
6.
7,
It
maybe.
was
Yeah,
6.
it
It
was
took 3
6.
years for us to get our first visit. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Wow.
that's amazing.
Wow. I mean, I think it may be fair for me to just, you know, I hope you guys don't mind me bringing this up, but Seth had a daughter when he went away, and Divine had a kid too, right?
I have to interject real quick. JJ, how you express the reason of why you wanted to create something to be in touch with your father, just it really
Yeah.
really messed with me emotionally. You know what I'm saying? Because my son was 3 years old when I left him, and he was the light that kept me going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? He was like everything to me in the sense of how I was gonna get through this. Everybody had abandoned me. So it was like my son was my only hope, and I would write him letters. So I got 2 questions. One, Jay, how like when you realized that your dad was away, what was like, did you still like, not that you still love him, but like did you still feel a connection with them? And like did you still feel like I'm determined to maintain this connection with him? Like what was going through your mind like when you really understood like he was away and all that? And I got
Yeah,
something you, Antoine, after that.
Yeah, I definitely was always just real positive about it and wanted to keep a relationship because it's like living where I was living in Buffalo, New York. It's it's not uncommon for a lot of kids to not have their dad in their life. Like it's like they're either probably in jail or dead. So it's like, and my cousin, my really close cousin at the time, her dad passed away when she was only a baby. So that kind of like made me grateful more that at least I did still like actually have a dad physically. Like even though we would be like away from each other for a long time and I can't be with him every day, eventually I'll be able to get him back and have a relationship with him. And she can't do that. So
Right.
that's what always like made me realize like there's some people in here in this world that like really can't have a father. And you know, it's like either way that's my dad and I had a love for him and I always wanted to bond. Like you see people with their
Yeah.
dads and it just like makes you like, oh, I want a dad too. So like that's just how it was for me. Like I didn't want to have any harsh feelings because it's like life is too short for that. So I'm like, no matter what, I want to keep this bond with my dad, and I know like
How
that'll
do
be
you
important
know
to
all
him
No, no,
too.
this?
I'll
I love
give
your
you a hug.
maturity.
How do
Hold
you
on one second.
know all of this?
So JJ, I love your maturity. I love your clarity and your answers. Like
Wisdom.
you're an amazing young woman. I have to commend
Thank
you.
you.
I commend your father and everything he's done since his
Thank
post
you.
incarceration.
You've done
So
something right,
Antoine,
Antoine.
the silent question for you, Antoine, is how did you approach your absence? I mean, I know that I would like write these letters, knowing that he was seeing when he's older, and like pour my emotions out and let him know like I was, I had to do what I had to do because I wanted to take care of you. And I was only 16 when I had my son. So what's your thoughts on, what share with us how you approach your absence and trying to maintain that bond with your child?
Oh man, it was tough. It was nerve-wracking because I really felt like I had dropped the ball, and I'm like, let's see if she still has love for me. Right? She was like she said, she was so young when I went away. You like, how aware is this kid? So as we wrote a couple letters back and forth, and she's still so young, 4 or 5 years old, and she just sending me pictures and hearts. She would do this cute thing where she would take her mom's lipstick, put it on it, and kiss the paper before she sent it to me. So it was like, I'm like, all right, so there's still some love there. We can build something, and that just kept, like you said, the key word you said was hope. It kept my hope alive.
Yeah.
So I just never stopped writing. And eventually we got that visit, and that's when it was real. I was like, I'm going to really be able to see if she's still here with me. And it took a minute to crack that ice, man. 3 years later, not seeing your kid, it
Yeah.
wasn't that moment in a movie where the kid runs into your arms and gives you a hug.
Nah,
She was
never like
trying to
that.
feel me out. She was like, let me see
Yeah.
who is this guy? Like, and I had to work. I had to, like, it was at one point I had to kind of ignore her a little bit, because she was being in her shell. So I had to make her come to me.
Right. The reverse psychology move. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Were you
I'm not gonna
angry?
sweat you.
JJ, were you angry at your dad at different points, or when you saw him? Was that ever going on?
No, I was never angry at him. I never like had any like hatred towards him. It just was like weird for me because I just was used to being around certain people, and
Right.
it's like I never met the thing is like mostly I was like kind of nervous because it's like I've always wanted to meet him. I always wanted to be with him and like really have a bond with him. But like it 3 years. Like I was only 3, so I really didn't know. And now I'm 6, and it's been forever. So I'm like, this is nerve wracking. Like I've never really seen him before. I've never really been with him. So
Yeah,
it's
who
like,
is this dude?
yeah, I wasn't angry. I just was like kind of scared. But then we found out we had so much in common, and I looked just
Yeah.
like him. And then
What
after
did you
that, it's
have in
like
common?
I didn't want to leave.
What did you discover you had in common?
We both loved math, and both of our favorite numbers was 9, and we like had the same like favorite colors and everything. And I just was like,
Wow.
oh, I like this guy.
That's great. What's
love
your
it.
favorite number, Seth?
7.
7? No.
That was his
No.
number in the NBA.
No,
7.
it was 50 for mostly, but 7 is the nickname that I got in prison.
Right, that's what it was.
7 feet tall, so it's like, even before that, even before I was 7 feet tall, it was 7.
Seth, for those who don't know him, is very tall. He's 7 feet tall.
I can juggle too. Up, I don't know.
On a unicycle, Seth.
And wherever we trot him out, and he's very entertaining, and he has a cup, and
He
people
got hired.
coins in there. So Antoine, you're in prison, and you're in shock. You're there, and you oh my God, I really screwed up my life. Was it difficult for you to adjust to prison? Were you faced with any challenges right away? Was there fear of violence? Was that going on?
Yeah, all of that, all of it. It was really tough to adjust. My mother is the best cook in the world. Okay. So to have to eat from, men who's cooking in the mess hall, man, what a downgrade.
Wasn't as good as your mom.
Oh, we can all relate. Trust me, we can all relate to that.
Yeah, I was already only like 140 pounds going in. Like I needed all the meals I can get. So that was really tough, adjusting to seeing how they treated us, and like there was no care. It's like literally the commissary was key. Like being able to, that was the control that we had, was being able to get some funds, whether it's through working or family, and buying what we wanted from the store. So I had to adjust. I wasn't a cook before prison. I had to learn inside. That was big for me. Being by myself a lot was really hard at first. But that now is like the foundation to my strength, and everything is like understanding how important solitude is. But at first it was just like, get me out of here. Like, I want to get out. I want to go into the population and just be around people at least, or something. It was kind of awkward. But what really, I guess, changed my trajectory, because at first I just was there. I just want to do my time. Like, whatever I got to do, I'll just survive. But as soon as I got to state prison, Elmira, reception, one of the biggest max securities in the state, I got into an altercation, and not with prisoners, but instead the guards.
What happened?
Man, literally just talking to my neighbor, someone older guy who you could tell had some experience in prison. So he's just kind of like giving me the game and knowledge on what to look forward to. And the officer, walks by and tells us to shut up. And our neighbor says, like, what did he say? I'm like, nothing. He's just trying to intimidate us. Right. So he took that to heart. About an hour later, he pops my cell and tells me to come downstairs.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what's about to happen, but my neighbor tells me, like, hey, be careful. He's going to try to flex on you. He's going to try to, really intimidate you. So I go down the stairs, still not understanding. Like, I wish he would have gave me a better idea what he meant by that. So I go downstairs, and it's that officer. He's about, mid 50s, maybe. And he has about 6 other guards behind him. And he's smoking a cigarette, and he walks towards me, flicks the cigarette at my face, and says, you want to see intimidation? And swings, like, instantly. I dodged the cigarette, thankfully, and then I dodged the first punch. And then I circle around him like we're sparring. And I'm not going to hit this guy. I'm not going to hit him. For one, it's my elder. And for two, he has like 6 other people with him. And I make a bad decision and turn my back to the other people. And one of them hit me in the back of my head. I fall to the ground, and just the same officer jumps on top and start hitting me, and they didn't hurt. It was like my granddad hitting me, but it was still like this moment of degradation, where it's like, whoa, like, I'm from the streets. I fought my whole life. I've never taken any losses. And this was that moment where it was like, you're taking a loss. Like, and I kind of accepted it as like, don't get comfortable here. Like, this is not where I want to be. I need to be making myself better so I never have to come here again. That moment, like, it taught me so much. I was angry, of course, at those men, but I've always been the type of person to try to find a sign in everything. But that was hurtful. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my family. I didn't want anybody panicking. It took me a while before I was finally able to share what happened that day.
Wow. Is this upsetting to hear this, JJ?
Yeah, it made me feel sad. I remember he first told me this, and I just felt kind of bad, because I'm like, dang, like, that's the type of stuff that my dad has to go through. Because like, knowing the type of person he is, and like, I love him to death, and he's just like such a nice person now. And it's like hard to hear like people want to do this to somebody like him.
Yeah, it wasn't him they were doing it to, I mean, they were in a role and he was in a role. But you know, I'm sure we all have felt this. In a way, the guards, the CEOs in prison, they're more in prison than any one of us has ever been, because that's where they're going to be until they retire.
Super.
You know, they're
Yeah.
in they're in Elmira, in some small town where there
Yeah.
aren't many jobs and they're not making a lot of money and they ain't going anywhere. You're leaving to be reunited with your family, and you're going to start this great business and a foundation and have so much ahead of you, you know, and what do they got, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm not saying that excuses their behavior, that's for sure, but you know,
But you're right. That's the bigger picture. That was something in my head as well. It's like, I can get into this fight with them. I can try to get revenge, catch him by himself. But what that's going to lead to? Another 7-10 years in prison?
yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. Seth, you were talking about solitude, Antoine, and that you were going to use that. You know, Seth, you were in solitary for a long time, right?
It was it was 4 months. Yeah, it was a lifetime for me. I mean, there's guys that, you know, had done, you know, 4 years, 11 years in the shoe, you know, and it's just like, that's like prison inside of the prison. And, you know, I agree with you, Antoine, like the solitude, you learn about yourself, right? Like, you know what I mean? And whether you're forced to face your own demons and go through all of this, you know, in this process. And I agree there's a healthy way to do that. And I think you know, the world needs more of that, you know, for sure, you know, with in a healthy way versus the way they do it. They force you to do it in prison, but the solitary confinement piece is something else. I mean, that's a, you know,
we are the only country in the world, including China and North Korea and Russia and Afghanistan, all these other terrible places, that put juveniles in solitary. We're the only one that does that.
Wow.
So there's just rampant inhumanity. Did you have any issues with other inmates while you were there?
Not one.
Not one.
Not one. Not
Oh.
one. And I really just chalked that up to, you know, somebody taught me really early on, like, stay away from gambling, gangs, and gays, because like people get really territorial when it comes to those.
Did you did you consider yourself a model inmate or a model prisoner?
Eventually, like, as maybe when I got like about 5-6 years in, and I was like in college and I was coding, I was teaching other prisoners, I kind of looked around and was like, whoa, like, I've become a leader. I've become a huge, like you said, inspiration and role model to a lot of people. But it just naturally kind of happened. At first I was to myself. You know, I spoke to a few people. I treated everyone with respect, and my hand just never called for anything like that. Even in the hood that I grew up in, I didn't get into many altercations because I wasn't a trouble starter. You know, and I just felt like I give good energy.
Right. You're a nice guy. Your daughter says so. So, you know.
That's all I need. Yeah.
He's the smart one here. So at what point and how were you exposed to coding? Was this an interest before you went in, or how did you learn about it when you got in?
Right. Yeah. No, I had no interest in it before. Honestly, I also was scared of it. And I found that out by chance. I was enrolled in this college program, which I got in 2010. And the only reason why I enrolled was because they said, if you finish and get your associate's degree, you can get 6 months off your bid. And I was like, okay, 6 months to get home sooner to my family. Why not? And I just pursued it just to actually do it, you know, and just get the work done. But at some point they moved me to a medium correctional facility, and we had this computer lab where we could type our papers. And they even brought a few pieces of software inside as well. They brought a course on web development, and they was like, hey, do you want to sign up? Because, you know, I was one of the smarter people in the college program. And I was like, no, like, that's only for geniuses. There's no way I can do that stuff. So literally I turned the course down. And, you know, they didn't fight me or it wasn't no struggle to make me take it. What happened was 2 months later, I also went to solitary confinement. Me and a friend were making hooch, right? And that's jailhouse liquor for those who don't know.
How did you explain how you would make that?
Yeah. I didn't know I was a chemist either.
You haven't done it before in the yard, but you tell us anyway, again.
Yeah. Really quick, you make hooch we collected all of the orange juices in the mess hall. And also real oranges as well. And we put them in this big protein jug. Protein powder is what we used to get. And we would fill that up with orange juice. And also we will open up and get bread, let the bread kind of mold, put it in plastic. Yep, to get that yeast, and then poke holes in it, put it inside the orange juice. And lastly, we would get some raisins out of our oatmeal and, cinnamon and raisin oatmeal. And that will also help build, that perforation and make it bubble up. So we would put that inside of this big container and let it sit for about 4 to 6 days, open it every couple of days, and just eventually it'll be like a mimosa.
For brunch.
For brunch.
So we actually were doing it for a while, like a year. Then we said, we're going to stop. We're not going to do it anymore. And my friend was like, the typical guy from the streets, one more run.
Oh,
like,
man.
One more time.
It's always the last run, Antoine. It's always the last run.
Oh, man.
You saw
my God.
You saw Scarface.
So
always the last run.
I told him no. I said, we're not going to do it. But he conned me into it by saying we were going to be doing a talent show. We were going to perform. We make music as well. He said, hey, I'm not doing it if you don't make the hooch. I said, all right. So I made the hooch, and someone got wind of it. They told on us because they went right to his bunk. We were like in an open dormitory, and they went right for it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And of course, since me and him were really close, they came to me next. I didn't have anything except for open oatmeal packet with all the raisins missing. And they said, okay, you must have been part of this.
I just like raisins. What?
Yeah. So they locked me up. They locked him up. And while I was sitting in solitary confinement, now I feel like I'm double incarcerated, and I'm devastated because I'm like, dude, you didn't learn your lesson. Like, what are you doing? You in this college program, your family's coming to visit you. Like, you're really blowing it. Like, what are you doing? So one of the porters, that's one of the people, like one of the other incarcerated guys who works the block, will bring me my lunch, but also slide me a newspaper. And one day I happened to open up, this was a USA Today, and the tech section was right there. And it kind of stood out because it was this huge headline that said, the mobile app explosion. And this is in 2010. And it pretty much was like 2 years after the iPhone had came out. And, it was the rise of the smartphone was happening, but I was missing it. I went to prison in 2008, so I didn't know what was happening. My cell phone was like a Razor or, like those big Nokias. And that was it. We didn't download apps or anything like that yet. So I was curious, like, what is this about? And what really pulled me in was, the amount of wealth that was being created from apps. It talked about, people becoming millionaires and billionaires from selling these $1 apps. So I kept reading, and I was like, whoa, okay, people are creating an app, and they gave some examples of some popular apps like to-do apps or a social media app. And it was like, it could be for free or it could be for $1, but you can make a huge amount of money. So instantly, like, I wanted to start thinking about what I wanted to create. But every day for the 20 days I was in solitary confinement, I would get the tech section now. That was the first section I was going to, because I was now trying to figure out, like, how do I break my way in? And what I learned was the best apps are the apps that solve problems, that solve real world problems. So my first couple of concepts were around problems that I were having. Some was like around, music, because I've always been like in love with music. I thought that would be like my number one thing. But then I looked and I was like, I got a letter from JJ while in solitary confinement. And I'm like, I wish I can get more of these letters. Every single time I got a letter from her, it just boosted my spirits up. And I was like, how many other people, right, around the world are incarcerated and would love to get a letter from their family members like every week, like consistently? I was never the bitter type. I know JJ wanted to write me more letters, but she needed the help of her mom or her grandmother to, fill out the envelope, put my name on it, put the address on it, get stamps, print out pictures. She couldn't do it all by herself as a real young kid. And even adults like my older brother or my friends who wanted to write me just didn't have the time to sit down and do it. So in my head, I started envisioning this app where people could, like email, just type a couple words, attach a couple photos and press send. And in the background is where all of the real work would happen. All of the magic would happen. So I was like, you know what? Me and my team can do all of the printing, the packaging, and ship it
This
to the
is while
prison.
you're still in prison now?
Still in prison, still
You
in
just
solitary
said-
confinement.
You just said me and my team. Who was your team?
I was already envisioning
Envisioning
like
the team.
making this a company.
With
Me,
JJ.
myself, and I, team.
I didn't think
Think
about
big,
JJ
start
yet.
small.
That was just the
Was
sprinkles
she your
on top.
team then?
No, I wish she was just a sprinkle. That's it. She was the
Right.
heart
Wish
of
she
it.
were on our team. JJ,
Yeah.
you ready to jump ship, by the way? We have
We're
apps.
hiring. We're
and
hiring.
we're
JJ.
hiring. And we just got money in. So, I'll double whatever you're
We're a
earning.
package deal. We're a package
Oh,
deal.
it's a package deal?
We love it.
That's a
We
good
love it.
package. We can definitely talk. So then I gather you had a little bit of focus for your time while you were in prison, and you kind of knew where you were going to go when you got out. You were going to pursue this, right?
Yeah, really. I mean, really quick. The ending to that was what really how I got into coding was that those articles started teaching me that I had to learn how to code in order to build one of these apps. And first thing came to my head was, wow, I just turned down a course. I can't believe I turned down that course that could lead to these million and billion. I didn't even know the value of learning how to code. I just knew that it was complicated and challenging and you had to be a genius to do it. So literally like this idea of creating Photo Patch to allow families to communicate more freely is what motivated me to say, you know what, maybe I can do this. Like, let me go figure this out. So I wrote to the commissioner of the prison and like pretty much begged to, when I got out of solitary confinement, to stay in that prison, because I knew if I went anywhere else, I wouldn't be able to be on computers and code all day. So luckily, they heard my call and the guys like answered. And when I was let out, I was able to stay in that prison, and I ran down to that computer lab, and it was too late to sign up for the course, but I was able to find one book still sitting around, a JavaScript book. And I took it back to the cell and I started teaching myself.
Wow.
And did you work on the app code while you were down too? Like
The website. I built the website while I was in prison. I built the first prototype inside of prison.
That's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And how exactly could you explain how that was done? The first prototype?
Yeah. I was I learned a few different languages: HTML, CSS, Java, JavaScript, and Python. And like it was really cool. We had this intra network. It's like 20 computers, no internet, and the college staff would bring us in any programs we requested. So if we asked for a specific software or a package or a tool to code in, they would bring it in for us. Books.
Environment right there.
Right. So I created this like local environment that tested out. I created my own server.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
crazy. It was crazy.
Genius,
You had
King.
time to do it.
Yes. Thank you.
Genius, King.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Innovation at its finest.
Yes.
Only on the yard, damn it. No.
For real.
We always hear about, Divine talks about his time in prison and how he very quickly early on said, I'm going to use this time, not to continue in the life I've been doing, but to create a new life, reinvent yourself. We hear that all the time. Yours is just another case. It's pretty amazing. Have you got a few more minutes? I know you guys.
Yep. We just pushed. Yeah, we have 15. Yep, we're good.
Right,
we have
cool.
about 15.
Do you remember the first time, I guess you would be going with your mom, JJ, when you were going to visit prison?
Yeah, I went with my grandma, my dad's mom, and yeah, I remember it. I had spent the night at her house, and we was like getting ready the next morning to go. We drove there, and I was really excited the whole time because I never like been there. I never got to visit him before, so it was pretty exciting. Like I just couldn't wait because it was just something I've been waiting to do.
Did you think, what am I going to wear and what am I going to say and all these kind of things?
I don't think so. I just was like, I wasn't really caring about that. I just was caring to get in the car and go. Like I didn't care what I wore or nothing. I just was like, let's go. And then I got there and was nervous.
And how far was it? Was the prison from where you're at? I mean, most prisons are just kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? And so like the lead up to it and everything is a big process, which a lot of people don't really kind of recognize, right? So
yeah,
they make it difficult for families.
Was it a long ride to get there?
Yeah, it was for me because I was little and I'd never been on a road trip before. Like that was my first road trip too.
It was a
So
road trip.
everything seemed long. So I just was like, I'm gonna go to bed and wake up and be there. And that's kind of what happened though. Like I just slept the whole time so I could not think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did your so you visited him a number of times, right?
Like twice.
Yeah.
It was
it.
yeah.
Were you into coding when JJ was visiting, or did that happen after?
Good question. 3 years.
I'm just wondering if you.
It was about the same time. It was about the same time.
Did you share it with JJ what you were doing?
No, I didn't share it with her. It was hard talking with this to my family, period. Like where we come from, that is just a whole different language. I remember bringing it up to a couple family members and it was like, okay, that sounds cool.
They didn't understand what that was.
They didn't understand it. Yeah. It was like, oh, sure. It was one of those, that's jail dreams you're having. Okay, sounds good.
So when you got out, Antoine, you had been coding now for quite some time, right? And now you're coming home to your family. And at what point did you and JJ sit down and you tell her about what you had learned, and what this new interest was of yours?
Yeah, it was actually wild because as soon as I got from prison, I moved to Florida. And the goal was for me to kind of set up the foundation while JJ finished up the school year. So her and her mom moved down about 7 months after I got out of prison. But while we were separate still, but in, different states, we would talk every single day still. I would make her call me every day and tell me, what was your day?
JJ, can you talk to my daughter too? She we gotta get on that same phone schedule for sure.
Yeah. So
like you to forget about his daughter, talk to him.
Yeah.
I think you could go speak at a lot of different companies, JJ, and inspire a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So I want to because I know we're pressed for time, and I very much want to hear what you guys are up to now. I want to hear what it took for you to create this app, JJ, and what you're doing with your business now and your coding class. And certainly we want to make sure people who want to get in touch with you, who want to share and get the word out about your company, we want to make sure that we give you that plug. So, Antoine, what are you doing now?
Right now, we're just in as many ways as possible, we're trying to use tech to change people's lives. That's it. So we keep creating new products and new services that we believe can bridge gaps, whether it's to wealth, to financial literacy, to connection and better relationships. So PhotoPatch was the start, right? That was our tool that we created to connect families, to increase communication, because we believe communication actually reduces recidivism. So that's our part to dismantling this system. Part two was, creating a consulting company. We created something called Atlas Digital Group. And literally we build websites, we build apps for companies, for individuals, for artists, for brands. And I have a great team. JJ and we have an amazing team of developers, designers, project managers, social media marketers, amazing team. And then, we said, we're not going to start there. We have communication with PhotoPatch, consultation with Atlas Digital, and then we wanted to do something educational, and that's where Unlock Academy came from. And that was our audacious mission to create a place for people who don't think they can code, who don't think they can do it, who come from public education background, and they're not teaching us about coding. And we want to make it simple as possible. And we even want to have a hip hop twist to it. We want people to be able to look at us and say, if they can do it, I can do it. So the Unlock Academy started with this mission to teach 2020 Black and brown people how to code by the year 2020. And we put it on social media, and within the first year, we were able to hit that goal. Within year one, we taught over 4,000 people how to code.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Love it, King.
Amazing.
Love it.
So you've got the class, the boot camp going now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it started as a boot camp, but now it's literally a full-blown school.
More.
We have over 15 employees. We have a student success department. We have a marketing team. We have
killing them.
curriculums.
Keep killing them.
So,
Yes.
so I wanted to ask you, if we'd have an opportunity at Commissary Club to get the word out. We have this huge population.
Wow. Yeah.
This is your target population.
Yes.
You have the capacity to continue scaling this thing, right?
Yes. That's what we're in that mode right now. We're in that scale mode. And that's the thing, like, it's all digital, it's all online. And we work with students in all different time zones. We have students in Africa, Jamaica, LA, Canada, everywhere. And we're just always hiring more coaches to help us out.
And what's your role in this, JJ?
I'm in charge of the youth department, so I'm focused on the kids learning how to code.
So you have kids who are learning?
Yes.
How did they come to this?
So basically, well, like my dad said, he started with the idea of Unlock Academy first. And then we thought it would be cool to like not only get just adults who don't know much about the skill, but also kids too. Like it's the idea of like starting them young and now so that when they get older, they're not scared of it, which once they get older, once my generation get older, like tech is going to be way much more advanced than it is now. Like it already is crazy. So it's like, we might as well get them started now than later when it's like too difficult for them, when they're scared and when they're gonna like soak up it much more. So I took charge of that.
Well, before you guys go, I know you're on time limit. Before you go, I have a special announcement. We have someone in the audience. His name is Todd Floyd. He's the Vice President Worldwide Corporate for Social Responsibility for Udacity. His role is affording people opportunities. He has a full scholarship for you, JJ, at Udacity of your choice. So you pick any scholarship on Udacity's web platform, and it's yours. I'm going to connect you with him, Antoine.
That's great.
Thank you.
Adrian, can we
Thank you,
bring him? Can we
Todd.
bring him in real quick, Adrian?
Thank you,
Thank
Todd.
Thank you.
That's great. So Todd,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us and thank you for your generosity. But I got to tell you, you're going to train JJ and she's going to end up being your executive VP.
I'm not going to steal her from Antoine.
I am.
But
We're already trying.
Yeah, as Divine knows, I'm just moved by what you're doing, JJ, and especially with the youth, to be able to help people, enable them, afford them an opportunity to get to where, I mean, it's a magical story. I'm so excited to do this. So
Amazing.
Divine will introduce me to your dad, and then I'll provide the information for you as to
I'll
how
connect you guys, Antoine.
Let's
further.
make this happen.
further-
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Todd.
Wakanda
That's
forever.
Thank
great.
you.
We got the best people hang out on the yard. I was wondering, JJ, is there anything about technology that scares you?
Yeah, there are a few languages that I sometimes be like, I don't know. But my dad's always like, come on, just let me teach you. I mean, it'll be great. Just do it.
I don't believe that there's much that scares you or that.
No, it's like, yeah, you're right. It's like one thing and that's really it. Other than that, I'm like going head first at it.
Which one?
JavaScript, I don't know. It seemed pretty intense. I'm kind of scared. But other than that,
So outdated.
I'll go out for it.
Well,
JJ,
congratulations on the
You
full
pick
scholarship.
script.
Shantia,
Script and then go.
There you go.
Shantia in our audience just called you a hero.
Absolutely.
Sorry, she called you
Oh,
a
Shantla.
shiro.
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 Shiro. I guess that's a
Thank
she
you.
hero. Is that what that is?
Yeah, Shiro.
Shiro.
Yeah.
Shiro.
You both. I mean, you both, and throw Todd in the mix. You guys are all amazing.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. So Todd, like, what's your big picture? What's the big end game for you? Where is this going to end up?
Yeah. So
I'm sorry.
it's individuals who are looking to make.
Uh-oh.
Whoops.
Todd, your mic's out. Your mic went out.
How about that?
There you go.
Yeah. So it's really the individuals who are making a difference. And then both Susan and I, who are on the phone here, have a friend who is OSP for 20 years. And so
Wow.
we've got a little horse in this game. And then Susan and I are both in technology. And I happen to be in, upskilling, reskilling. And we're very, very interested. I had the blessing and joy of meeting Divine several months ago through a work thing. And I said, I want to be involved in this. And if we can afford opportunity, we're going to, because we should.
Thank
great.
you, Todd.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank
You have a
you.
big heart.
Seriously.
But you're making a great bet,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This JJ is a lock.
You're gonna kill Java.
What is your end game?
Thank you.
What's your end game, Antoine? Like, what's your big picture?
Wow. I'm big on giving people opportunities. Like, I did poverty, I did prison, and I don't like either one of them. So my thing is just to help people get out of those situations, especially those people who are ready to. I feel like I was a young kid in the hood who had potential and nobody helped me bring it out. And my family, they just didn't know how. They didn't have the resources themselves. So we're big on what we created. The Unlock Academy is what we call the tribe, the Unlock Tribe. Literally, our goal as a tribe is, we believe it takes a tribe to bring people up and pull people up. So it's not just your family. It's not just your friends' responsibility. It's us as a global community to pull each other up and help us advance. So I'll continue to build and educate and vision until, a lot of us are to a point where we all can do it. It's each one teach one, pay it forward.
That's great. Well, I would like to offer or make available, our work involves getting people jobs. And we got a lot of people in the tech community, particularly in the Bay Area.
Okay.
But now, it doesn't matter where you live to
Right.
work in tech. So we would love to partner with you, that graduates of your courses, we could help place them at tech companies, so they can not just learn, but actually take the next step. So
Yes,
if
those
you're
are the
down for
type of
that, we'd
partnerships
love
we
to work
love.
with you on it.
Yes. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate that so
Well, no,
much.
thank you. What you're doing is consistent with, is aligned with what we're all about. And, you just obviously, you both are just so incredible and exceptional. It's inspiring to
Wow.
all of us.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
And JJ, I have a 14-year-old. My daughter's 14-year-old. Shout out to Ava. And she graduated 8th grade today. Her and I have talked a lot about coding and a lot of things, and she's kind of interested, maybe not type of thing. And I'm sure there's a lot of girls and boys that you deal with that are in that space, right? 2 questions. Yeah. One, what is the first piece of advice that you give to somebody in that situation? And the second one is, how can people get in touch with you about the youth program and all of that?
Yeah, my advice would be just don't be scared to go for it. Because the more hesitant you are, you'll probably never do it because you're too scared. Just go for it, try it out. Of course, not everything is for you, but you will never know unless you try it out. So I just say try it out, just give it a shot. Even if it's kind of difficult at first, just see what you can do. And then from there, you might really like it. Because when I first got into it, I was kind of confused and what in the world am I doing? I was lost. But as I got more into it, I was this is really cool. I'm actually liking this. So I think just trying things out and really giving it a chance will help you. And then to get in touch with us, you can go to our website, unlock.academy. No .com, just unlock.academy. And you can take any course you want.
And Adrian has put up the URLs. So I'm sure if you know people who would like to go through the course or to contact Antoine or JJ. And what grade are you in, JJ? Or have you already graduated college?
I'm in 10th grade. I'm homeschooled.
You're homeschooled? Okay.
Yeah, so I'm in 10th grade technically, but I don't know.
Taking college level business courses.
Pretty much.
You're in college already, girl.
Yeah.
Finish college. Are you like a normal kid other than being like a savant with coding?
Oh yeah, I'm really goofy and just humbled and like if you didn't know, like if you I don't know, if you didn't know about what we did, you wouldn't know that I did it. Like most people just think I'm just like this goofy, cool, normal kid until like people are like, tell them what you do. And then they're like, what in the world?
Yeah, she was going viral during like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And
yeah, none of my
her
friends knew. And then they knew and they were like, Jay, what is wrong with you? This is crazy.
I have one last question for me, for JJ. JJ, do you feel like technology has empowered you?
Yes, for sure.
Do you actually feel the empowerment?
Yeah, I feel like technology just has a big role on society and who we are today. And just being able to be a part of that and not like understand how it works, but also like behind the scenes and use it to my advantage. I think it's just really cool to have that under my belt. Like not a lot of people can say they're doing what I'm doing. So yeah, I think that's
All
right. Sure. You gotta brush your shoulders off a little. You know what I mean? Flex on. Get your big flex off, girl.
I'm not good at that.
You know something? I don't have any kids, and I probably will never have any kids. But if I had to choose a daughter, you would be who it was. You would be that person because you're just amazing and beautiful and charming and funny and smart and talented.
Agreed.
I wanted to just share a couple of comments here that you guys should hear. You know, Roger, who's here, he mentions when he was in prison, he had heard about Photo Patch. So that's cool that, it was getting out there.
Okay.
Jane, who is with us frequently, she mentions, and thank you for saying this, Jane, many inspirational times here. This one is one of the wonderful ones. Thank you, everybody. So, I mean, I feel the same way. It's inspiring to me. And then she said, a wonderful young woman. Antoine, I got to ask you, is it sort of hard having a kid who is this amazing? Like, are you intimidated by her?
Dude, no. Like, I count my blessings every day. Like, you know how many, like some of my friends, or I just think about parents who have a 16-year-old girl right now in this world that we live in. I'm blessed. I am super blessed and grateful. I don't take it for granted at all.
You are.
She's helpful when it comes to like her siblings, when it comes to business, and then also just herself. She makes really good decisions. So I don't know what I did to deserve it. Me and her mother, we come together and we smile and we go to sleep at night peacefully. Like, whoa, we're doing good.
You are doing great. Shantala, I probably didn't pronounce that right. She mentions, she said that what they're doing is showing others that you can manifest your dreams into reality.
Yes, Shantala.
How powerful is that? That you're this example that people who have dreams, and that you, JJ, saying just go for it. What's the ripple effect on that? How many people are you reaching? How much you're changing the world?
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
That's pretty big. And sometimes I know personally I get frustrated when somebody signs up for a course and they don't take it serious. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, come on, like let's do this. But it's look at Todd, like, come on. But on the flip side, like, I'm glad you said that, Richard. It's sometimes we do have to focus on, the people we are impacting. Like, even if it is only, 10% of people, today who sign up actually do something with it. Still, that 10% can spread like wildfire, throughout their neighborhood, throughout their family, throughout their circle. So thanks for saying that.
Yeah, well, thank you for you guys being who you are. We typically spend a lot of time talking about the prison experience and how awful it is. And, this, when I heard, when Divine, I think, spoke of you and was talking about this sort of father and daughter team, I thought how interesting this would be, to have her share what her experience was and how was it for her. And I had no idea what we were in store for, and how incredibly impressive the both of you are, you know, and what you've achieved, you know, you, Antoine, taking, you know, going through prison and coming out of it, and then just creating this big, successful, impactful business. And you, JJ, kind of taking on the world, you know, and being this woman, you know, and this dynamo and this genius and this powerhouse. I mean, it's incredible. So I can't imagine saying anything more. I think we've said it all, you know, and I know you guys got to run, unless Divine or Seth, you got questions.
I'm good, man. Thank
I'm
you for
good
joining
too.
us.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. First time
You
we've
guys
had
are great.
a minor that's an adult on here. You know what I'm saying?
History. Go ahead,
Compared to the
JJ.
adults who
Okay,
are really
JJ.
minors like us.
Sure.
Well, let me just tell you once again how thrilled and appreciative we are to have had you here, to spend a little time together and getting to know you.
Yeah.
If people need to get in touch with you, they should, and we want to be in touch with you both and do stuff with you and help support your mission, and you help support ours, you know?
Likewise. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. We're big on partnership. We're big on impact. It sounds like you guys are in that same space. It sounds like this isn't just a numbers thing. Like, you're really trying to affect people. So
We are.
thank you for creating this platform and then inviting us to it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're interested
Well, you're
in
always
partnering with
welcome. Please
Yeah,
come
okay.
back and just
Okay.
hang out and be there. Every Thursday night we do this.
Okay.
We've got so much going on with what we're doing, and it's a very exciting time. From the time I got out of prison 15, 16 years ago, Dee, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. I got out of prison 16 years ago. You know, there's a change. Attitudes
Yeah.
changing. Things are moving quickly. They're improving. People like you, Antoine, you know, have a lot to do with that. You know, there's an amazing amount of talent and good-hearted people, you know, that go through this system and come out of it stronger with so much to offer. It behooves us, all of us who have been through this, to help each other, to work with each other, to support each other, to hook up each other. You know, there's this connection gap that exists in our community. When you're let out of prison, frequently you're under what's called supervised release, where by law, you're not even allowed to talk to someone with a record. And if there was ever a time that you needed people, you know, to talk to and to get advice from, and where to get a job and what should I wear on an interview and all these things. So if, you know, if the law tells you you can't do it, we've got to provide other ways to get the information out and the connections out there, you know, and if we're not going to do it for each other, you know, it's not going to happen. You know, and that's sort of the mission that we're on. And, you know, when we meet people like you guys, it just does our hearts good. So thank you, everybody, for being here and joining us. We have lots more to tell you about what we're up to, lots of good things and reasons to be hopeful about the future. Be good to each other, and be back here next Thursday and join us on the yard then. Have a great night, everybody.